Okay, so I think we can get rid of our blueprint image. We don't really need it, so we'll just delete it. And I think we'll bring in the full set of blueprints, and we can just figure out how big this needs to be and position it correctly. All right, so let's open up our script again and browse for the top image. Just navigate to your folder, and we'll go into the main folder here and just grab the top, and then we'll go down to the front and grab that. And you'll notice here that the front image is actually a picture of the back of the gun. And I did that on purpose. I actually reversed these, and that's just so I could set it up the way I wanted to. So just grab the one that says front, and we'll grab the one that says back, and then the right side. All right, hit create, give it a second, and there they are. And again, that's the awesome thing about using this script is normally you'd have to actually position these planes manually, but the script does it all in one click automatically, which is super sweet. All right, so those look good. So let's grab our piece and we'll just jump into the front view for a sec. And you'll see that we're actually looking at the back of it. So I'm just gonna reverse this and switch the view to back, and we'll just move it over here. All right, so these two pieces on the sides here are actually these pieces. So let's just move it over. And it looks a little too wide, but we're gonna scale it down and it's gonna lose some width. So just leave it for now. Jump into the right view. I'm just gonna scale this down, and we'll do a uniform scale right on the triangle here. And we'll just take it down. We're gonna kind of have to guess how big this needs to be. Let's try maybe 55 on the XYZ. Which looks about right. And then we'll move it up, and we're also gonna have to rotate here. So let's go to rotate, turn our angle snaps on, and just give it a spin on the X. Okay, maybe 30 degrees or so, and we'll just move it over. All right, it's probably not gonna match exactly, as you can see, but we're fairly close. I'm just gonna turn off my angle snaps for a second here, and just give it a little bit more rotation. All right, move it up. And we have this pin detail that actually comes through that slot. You can see it right here. So just pay attention to that on the blueprint there, that it's kind of centered in the slot. We might have to adjust the size when we actually build that in, but for now we'll just kind of center it like that. Let me just move it back a bit as well. Okay, so let's jump into the front view to see how the width looks. I'm just gonna pull it over to the left side there on the print. And I think we're gonna have to make it a little wider. So let's actually trash our turbo smooth for a second. Just get it out of the way, it's easier to see. And I'm gonna go to vertex, make sure you don't have back facing turn on. I'm just gonna grab everything on the right half of this, and we'll just move it over a little bit. And just undo that, turn off your edge constraints first. And just pull it over a little bit, and then I'm gonna hold Alt and deselect the center verts there. And just move everything on the right side over a little farther. All right, take a look, make sure we didn't screw anything up. And I think everything looks good. All right, so let's just put our turbo smooth back on. We'll do our 2 iterations in isoline, and we'll just copy it over to the other side in the back view here. All right, so you can use symmetry if you want to mirror it over. I think I might just use mirror. Let's just move our pivot point over to the center here. So we'll go into the hierarchy tab, turn on effect pivot only, and I'm just gonna right click the move tool to bring up the move transform, type in, and we'll just zero out the X spinner. Okay, it's going to snap the pivot point to the origin. And I already went ahead of time and kind of made sure that the center of our model was on the origin, so we wouldn't have any problems, so it should work just fine. So let's hit mirror. Do this on the x-axis, and you want to do a copy, and then say OK. And it looks like it's lining up pretty good. I might just move it over a tiny bit. Okay, that's close enough. Alright, so there's our pieces. We're finally done with them. I know it took forever, but there were 2 of the more challenging pieces, so the rest should go a little bit quicker than this. So let's just do a save now that that's done, and we'll just keep moving. Okay, so I think the next thing we're going to make is the center post, this one right here. And it's fairly simple, as you can see. You can probably just do it out of a cylinder. There are a couple details that I left out on purpose. I didn't put these 3 circular details in, or this one up here. And just for the sake of speed, I decided to skip those out, so I won't be adding those. You can if you want to. And there's not a lot to pay attention to. It's really just this flange type of piece that sticks out here, and then we have a couple of radius changes throughout the height here. You can see that this is a little bit farther out than it is down here, and then this sticks out a little more around the top. So pretty simple. It shouldn't take too long. Let's just jump into the top view to start, and we'll go grab a cylinder. Yeah, I'm just going to drag one out here and kind of guess at the radius because I can't see it. Alright, so just get one in there. Let's also center it on X. So I'm just going to right click the move tool, right click the X spinner, And we'll jump into the front view and just move it up into position. Right, let's zoom in here. I'm just going to go into X-ray mode, Alt X. Right, just move that down. And it's obviously too fat, so let's take our radius down a bit. Alright, let's do it maybe 47, that looks about right. And we'll just crank up the height here a bit, just to get it up to the top. Okay, close enough. And I don't want to turbo smooth this piece, so I'm just going to up the size just to make sure it's nice and smooth. Alright, we'll do like 40, that should be enough. And then let's just position it in the right view as well. Okay, maybe right there. And then we'll jump back to the back view and just zoom in here. Alright, so for this piece that sticks out on the sides here, I'm just going to convert this to double poly first, and then let's just use quick slice here. I'm just going to cut an edge in here. Alright, so click over here, go across, and just click. And then we'll just grab that loop, and let's chamfer it. Alright, so we'll go up, let's do, I can probably do 4 on that, and we'll just move it down a little bit. And then we'll just grab an edge here, or you can just go to polygon and drag through, that'd be easier. Grab these guys, and we'll do extrude. Alright, so for this we want to be on local normal, so we get it in all directions, and we'll just crank this up. Just going to check this in the right view so we can see how far we need to go out. Alright, so maybe like 51. It's close enough, I think. Let's take a look. That should be good. Okay, so back into the back view, and we'll just start creating this this piece up here. So you can see, like I mentioned, that it's a little thicker here than it is down here. So what I might do is just jump into perspective for a sec. Just going to put my shader on here. Actually, just going to apply a gray shader to these parts that we already finished too, just so I can tell stuff apart. Alright, so let's go to polygon. I'm just going to actually grab the top of it and delete it for a second. And let's just go to border, grab the border of this hole, and I'm just going to scale it out just a little bit. Alright, just to make the radius a little fatter. Alright, and then we'll jump out here into the back view. I'm just going to shift drag it up with the move tool to the bottom of this little hip detail here, and then we'll switch to scale. Hold shift, just scale out a tiny bit, and then we'll shift drag it up with the move tool. Okay, pretty simple. Let's jump out here and take a look. Alright, I think that's pretty good. We're going to have to create this wide chamfer detail here, so let's just grab an edge right there and we'll loop it, and I'm just going to do this in the front view. Okay, you can kind of see it on the blueprints there, so we'll just chamfer that edge loop. Right, we'll go up quite a bit, and maybe around 7 or 7.3 should be fine. Jump out here. Okay, we'll just chamfer these two while we're at it, so we'll chamfer again, and we'll just lower this down. Maybe like 0.5, 0.6, something like that should be fine. And let's just do the one underneath as well. Alright, might take this up just a bit. Let's do that one, maybe like 0.8. And let's do these couple on the outside here. Just gonna loop those. Let's actually take a look at our picture. I can't really see from there. Okay, you can see the edge here. It's fairly hard. I'm just gonna move this over here so we can kind of keep an eye on it. So let's chamfer here. Might just take that up a bit. Let's do it like 0.9. And we'll just keep moving up. So let's grab this one underneath. Loop, and we'll chamfer that. I'm just going to tighten this one up. And do this one. We'll just go up a tiny bit. Maybe 0.55. And then for the top here, I'm just going to actually cap this. So I'm going to go to border, grab the top, we'll hit cap. I'm going to control click edge, and we'll just chamfer this down. For this one, I might just widen it out a bit. Alright, we'll do a 1 on that. Okay, and let's go down to the bottom here. And I'm going to grab that bottom face and control click edge just to get the edge selection, and then let's maybe do this in the front view. Alright, so we'll zoom in down here, and let's just chamfer it. Alright, so let's do maybe 1 on the first one. I'm just going to check this out in perspective so I can see better. Alright, so I'll do a 1, I'm going to hit apply, we'll do a double here. So we'll just lower down the second amount, just so it's kind of rounded over, so we'll do like a 0.4 on the second one. Okay, exit edge, and I think we got everything we need to. I might just add some smoothing groups to this quickly, so let's just go into isolation mode with Alt Q, and we'll just quickly add some smoothing groups to this. So I'm just going to pull my panel over here to extend it, and we'll just go to edge here, and I'll just work my way down from the top. So you can see it's really faceted on most of these parts, so we're going to need to smooth it out. You can try using a smooth modifier if you want to, but smoothing groups is probably going to give us a better result. So we'll start on the upper chamfer here, just do a ring, control click polygon, just to get those poly selected, and then we'll just assign a group number. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Alright, so we'll do the same thing here, ring, and then control click polygon, and we'll just give it a different number. And I'm just going to repeat this on pretty much every chamfer, all the way down. So ring, control click polygon. Underneath we don't need to do it, but I'm going to do it right here on this chamfer. If I can select it. There we go. And I'll try to do this fairly quick because I know it's a little tedious watching it. You don't necessarily need to do it on every single little chamfer if you don't want to. When it's so small like that, you probably wouldn't really notice if it was faceted, but just to be safe, I'm going to do it anyway. So we'll just keep working down. Alright, so we'll do this one. I'll move underneath and do this chamfer. Probably never going to see this one anyway, but there's no reason not to do it. It takes a second. Alright, and then down at the bottom here, and I'm going to do these all together. Alright, so we'll grab this, this, and this, bring them, control click polygon, so we have the whole thing selected, and we'll just give it a number. And if you turn off at your edges with F4, you can kind of see the result you're going to get. Just smooths everything out, makes it look nicer. Okay, so let's exit isolation mode, just take a look here. Just going to move this over. Let's maybe throw a gray shader on there. Z. Okay, so it's slowly coming along here. Doesn't look like much for about an hour's work, but we'll pick up the pace. I'm just going to do a save. So what I think we'll do next is just create this piece that connects these together. And it's really simple, it's just a cylinder again. If you wanted to, you could try to actually pull these side pieces out of the center post, but that's going to be a little tricky and time consuming to do, so I think I'm just going to use some new objects for that. So we'll just jump into the right view here. I'm just going to go to wireframe F3, and we'll just use another cylinder. So let's just draw one out here. Not sure how big we'll need, so we'll just make one, give it some height, and let's jump into perspective for a second. And we want to make sure this is centered with our post, so I'm just going to use the align tool here. So we'll just go to that, click on the center post, and we'll do X, Y, and Z here, center and center, and then say OK. And that's just going to make sure it's properly centered to the post. Alright, so now that we did that, let's jump into the back view, and we'll just figure out how long and fat this thing needs to be. Alright, I'm just going to move it down a bit. Just going to kind of center it with this center edge on the blueprint there. Let's go into X-ray mode for a second, and the radius looks pretty close there, so let's just maybe make it 46. And the height we could do manually. I think I'll leave it with 40 sides just to make sure it's nice and smooth. So let's convert this to poly, and we'll just grab the verts here on the side, those guys, and just pull them over to the other side here. Take a quick look. Okay, that should work. Alright, so I'm just going to go back into the right view here, and if you look on the blueprint, you can see it has this thinner, smaller one that kind of comes out of the center of this. And if you wanted to, you could just do an inset on the end piece here and then just pull that out. I think what I might do is try to actually make it look like this is inserted into this one. So I'm going to actually just make another cylinder here for that piece. Alright, so let's grab another one and we'll just draw it out just so it's a little smaller than the first, and give it some height. And again, we want to make sure it's perfectly centered, so we'll just use the align tool here. Right, just click on the bigger cylinder. Same settings, say OK, and then we'll just pull this over so we can see it. Jump into the front view, go into X-ray mode, Alt-X, and we'll just figure out what size we want this to be. I'm just going to lower the radius a tiny bit. Let's do it maybe like 35. The height we'll figure out in a sec. Let's just leave the sides at 40 as well. And we'll go back into perspective here. Alright, so I'm just going to hide these two block details for now. Selection just so we can see what we're doing. And I'll give this a shader so we can actually see it. Okay, so I'm just going to start by grabbing the fatter one here. And I'm just going to create a hole for it. So we'll just grab these two polygons on the ends. And we'll just do an inset here. Okay, go up. I'm just going to stop just short of the smaller cylinder. So maybe like 10.5. And then we'll just push it inside a bit. So let's extrude. Alright, we'll just do a negative amount. Doesn't have to be much. Maybe -5 or 5.5 should be fine. And we'll say OK. And I'm going to delete those polygons while I'm at it. So hit delete. Okay. And this will just give it the appearance that it's actually inside the other one. Alright, so let's maybe just chamfer some of our edges here. So I'm just going to grab this one, and we'll do a loop here and just chamfer. One might be fine, so I'm just going to leave that, and we'll do the inside ones while we're at it. Alright, so just grab the inner one there, loop that, and we'll chamfer again. For this, I might tighten it up just a bit. Alright, so maybe like 0.6. I think that should be good, and we're going to probably need to add some smoothing groups along here. So I'm just going to go into isolation mode again, Alt-Q, turn off my edges with F4, and yeah, you can see it's faceted, so we'll just quickly do this the same way. So I'm just going to pull my panel over to give myself some room. Alright, so let's just ring that again and just make sure we control click polygon, get a poly selection, and we'll just give it a group number. And it doesn't really matter what number you use, like I mentioned earlier. It's just basically telling Max which faces it should smooth as a surface. So usually you want to divide them up where your surfaces change direction. Alright, so we'll just do the chamfers and the inside faces as well. Looks pretty good. And we'll just go over here and do the inside ones. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's exit isolation mode and we'll just grab the other one here. So let's right click it on hide all for a second. I just want to see how far these have to stick out. I'm just going to move this back until I see the end. Going to butt it right up against the side of our plate piece there, like that. And then let's convert this one to poly. And we'll just grab the end polygon, this one. And control click edge, and I'm just going to chamfer this down before I delete it. So let's chamfer. You're never going to see this, so I'm just going to do it maybe like 0.5 or so. And we'll go back to polygon, and your end poly should still be selected. Just delete that, we don't need it. We're also still going to have one on the other end here, as you can see, and that's inside, so we can delete that one as well. And then we'll just see if we need to make anything longer. I think we can probably make it shorter, so let's actually go to vertex, grab the inner verts, and just pull them forward a bit. It doesn't need to be that far in. That's just going to take up room on our UVs that aren't going to be used. Okay, so that's probably good for this. And if you want to, you can add a smoothing group to that chamfer, but it probably really doesn't matter. So we'll just jump into the back view again. I'm just going to center the pivot again. So let's go into the hierarchy tab, turn on effect pivot only. I'm just going to center the pivot on X, and we'll just mirror this over to the other side. So on X, copy, and okay. And I will just check that out in perspective and see if it's lining up. Right, I'm just going to move that plate piece back just a tiny bit. Just like that, we just want them just touching. Okay, so that should take care of the center portion. I'm just going to throw that gray shader on this stuff. Okay, and we'll get this one too. Alright, so let's pull our panel back over so we get some space back, and we'll just take a quick look here. Okay, Okay, so that should work out fine, I think. We're pretty close to the reference. Alright, so let's just do a save again.